Hey Crafty Crew! In today's video we have some fun Christmas projects I know you're going to love. If you would like to become part of the Crafty Crew, all you have to do is click that subscribe button right below the video and don't forget about the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time a new video is uploaded. For our first project, we're going to be using some of Dollar Tree's wooden dice. Now you can make some of the cutest snowmen out of this, but I want to make a nativity scene with mine. So you will need 7 total. I will be using Gorilla Wood Glue to attach 2 sets of 3. You could use hot glue, but since I store my Christmas decor in the attic in the off season, I want to make sure that this really stays together, and sometimes hot glue will come apart. Now some of these pieces do have some rough edges to it, so make sure your very top piece at least has the smooth round circle at the top. I'm going to clamp these together to make sure I get a nice tight seal, remove any of the excess glue that's seeping out, and I'm going to let mine set for several hours and let that glue set up. I'm also going to be using 3 different colored burlap fabrics. You can find these at Walmart. I have a dark color, a white color, and then like a medium brown. I cut the darker one to 7 inches long, and then I'm going to fold it over in half. Mine's 5.5 inches wide, so that's just going to make it about 2 3/4 of an inch. It's doubling it up since you can see through it. We're going to wrap that around the top and second wood dice. We're going to tack that down in the corner using some hot glue. Then we're making sure we keep it right underneath that first dice. We're going to bring that around and tack the other corner down with some hot glue. Then I did make sure to go in the back and add a little bit in the back just to make sure it doesn't move around. So I will trim some of that up to get it nice and clean looking, and this is how it should be looking. For the headdress, we're going to take a piece of that white burlap fabric, and I'm going to cut that down to about 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And I'm going to drape that right across the top dice, tack that down on each side with some hot glue, and then turn it around to the other side and glue that piece down. Now I'm going to use a pipe cleaner. I wish I had some gold. I didn't, so the closest match I have is like this golden brown color. We're going to wrap that around, tucking the burlap fabric down, and make sure you get a nice tight twist in the back. Add a little bit of hot glue to the front and the back, and then we can cut that excess pipe cleaner off. So it should be looking like this. Now we can start on Mary. We're going to use the medium colored burlap. We're going to cut that down to the same size of 7 inches and fold it in half. We're going to tack it just like we did with Joseph by putting that corner to the opposite corner and then gluing the other corner down and adding a little bit of glue to the back. Now for her headdress, we're going to take that white burlap fabric. We're going to cut that down to 7 3/4 of an inch, and mine is 5.5 inches wide, and I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to fold that over. I want it to come down almost to the bottom of the dress or robe. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to have the majority of it in the back. We're going to glue each of those sides down, and then for the back portion, we're going to fold that in and then tuck it at the top. We'll add some glue at the bottom to hold that in place. And because this is burlap, I'm going to open that up and add a little bit more hot glue to make sure it stays in place. We'll flip it over, do the exact same thing on the other side. And then I am going to trim up the back a bit, so she should be looking like this. Now I am going to add a little bit in the front to make sure it kind of frames her face. And now we can work on baby Jesus. I'm going to use 2 wooden beads the same size. I'm going to add the hot glue to one of the holes, but then I'm going to attach it to the round portion because where the hole is, it's a little bit flat. And if you glue it this way, you'll have the hole at the bottom, and then the other one you'll have the holes on each side. We're going to take some of that white burlap fabric or ribbon. We're going to cut 2 pieces 2 inches by 2 inches, just because you can see through it. I wanted to glue those two pieces together. You take the bead at the top with the holes on the side. That's going to be the head, so you'll have the smooth part in the front. We're going to tack the corners down on each side and then glue some at the bottom to tuck that in. Now we're going to add this to that 7th cube by gluing it on the very top. Now you could leave it like this with the natural wood cube. I, however, wanted to take some Spanish moss and attach this to all of the exposed wood pieces on that cube. So I'm going to do that with some hot glue. And make sure that I trim the bottom up so that it will sit flat. Add some more at the top and then kind of give it a little haircut. And I absolutely love how this turned out, and I would love to know what you guys think. For this project, you will need 2 of these faux shiplap signs from Dollar Tree. On the first one, we're going to attach this metal Merry Christmas sign from Dollar General for $1. Once we remove the hanger, we're going to attach this using some tacky glue. You can get this at Dollar Tree or Walmart. You just need a permanent glue since this is metal. The hot glue alone will not adhere to the sign. So we are going to put the hot glue on there. It's just going to hold it temporarily. And then we're going to put something heavy on top until that tacky glue can set up. On the other side, I found these beautiful reindeer ornaments at Dollar General. They're white with gold on there. And it was my lucky day because these ornaments at Dollar General were 50% off. So I got each one for 50 cents each. We're going to attach these to that sign using the tacky glue as well as the hot glue. We're going to do that for all 3 of the reindeer. For this sign, we're going to cut that twine hanger in half. Now that our glue has set up and our metal sign has adhered to our wooden sign, we're going to use some of this greenery with the gold in it. You can find this at Dollar Tree. I'm going to attach 1 on each side at the top. And I'm also going to be using 2 of these picks. These are $1 a piece at Dollar General. And I'm going to cut the stems from the bundle. They have about 4 stems on it. I'm only going to use 3 on each side. Once I have my placement laid out, I originally wanted to staple this, but I did not have any short staples, and I didn't want my staples to come through the back of the sign. So I'm going to take a piece of twine and double knot that in the middle of the stems, and then I'll take each end and wrap it around on each side a couple more times just to make sure it's held together well. Then I can double knot that in the back, cut the excess twine off, and I'll be able to use that twine in the middle to hot glue to the center at the top of the sign. Now we are going to make a bow, but before we do that, I'm going to take that bottom sign, we're going to flip that over and flip the top one over so that we can attach the 2 together using the original hanger that was on the bottom of the sign. Again, I did want to use staples, but I didn't want it to poke through the front of the sign, so I'm going to use some hot glue. And then I'm going to reinforce the top of that twine with even more hot glue and a piece of ribbon, and then push that around the twine just to secure it and hold it in place. I'll do that for both sides. Now we're going to create a bow for the front of the sign to go in between the greenery, and I'm going to use this satin ribbon from Dollar Tree. It's beautiful. It's white with gold speckles on it. I'm just going to create a small loop. I'm going to continue to do that until I have 6 loops. Then I'm going to cut a tiny slit on one side, flip that over, and cut another tiny slit on the other side so that we'll be able to take a zip tie, fit it between those 2 cuts, and then pull your zip tie really tightly to make sure it is held at the bottom. Then we can cut the excess zip tie off, and I want this to sit right in the greenery. Now it's going to be too poofy the way it is, so I do need to cut some of that bottom right below the zip tie off so it'll sit flatter. But before we secure that down, I'm going to take a piece of ribbon, fold that in half, and then fold the ends in half, cut at an angle to dovetail each of the ends, and glue that down in the center, kind of pinch it together where the rope is. Then we can attach our other bow directly on top of that. Let's make a Christmas wreath using one of Dollar Tree's 14-inch wired wreath forms, a sign that I found at Dollar General for $1, but you can use whatever sign you like. We're going to need some deco mesh. Now, I've had this in my craft room for a long time. Mine is 21 inches by 10 yards. I have a full red roll, a little bit of white, and a little bit of silver left. But Dollar Tree does carry deco mesh. Theirs are 5-yard rolls, and those will work just as well because I'm going to end up cutting my deco mesh in half. You're going to need some pipe cleaners. Take 12 of those, fold them in half, and then cut them. So you'll have 24 pieces. Now you can cut your deco mesh individually. I'm actually going to cut all 3 of mine at the same time. I find that it's easier to just kind of sit something at the top and bottom corner to hold them in place. I'm going to cut mine with a rotary blade that you can find at Dollar Tree, but a pair of scissors will work just fine. I'm cutting mine down to 10 inches in length. Then I'll take all 3 of those and I'm going to cut them in half. So this will make mine a little bit, about 10.5 inches long and 10 inches wide. Now I don't have enough to do the white and the silver through all of these, so I'm going to have to cut some extra red. I ended up cutting down 72 pieces of red, 12 silver, and 12 white, all of those being 10 inches wide and about 10.5 inches long. Using one red, I'm going to roll that up, hold it with a clip, and then roll up 2 more red, and then I'll roll up a white. So I'm going to crisscross these and hold them with my clip. So they're going to be 4 curls in one bundle. All of mine will have 3 red, and then I'll alternate between the white and silver. Once I have all 4 curls rolled up, I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, wrap that around the center, and you'll want to pull that really tightly or as tight as you can and twist it at least 2 times to hold that in place. Then I'll do the exact same thing for the next bundle, except I'll be adding a silver, and you're going to need a total of 24 bundles for the 14-inch wired wreath form. So your bundles should be looking something like this. Now we're going to take our wired wreath form. It has 6 sections in it. You're going to put 4 bundles in each section. We're going to add that to the 2 center wired pieces. So flip that over, take your pipe cleaner and wrap it around those 2 center pieces. Twist it as tight as you can, and I'm going to alternate mine between the silver and the white. And once you twist those, you're going to want to tuck them in a little bit to make sure that they do not scratch the surface that you're going to hang your wreath on. Once you get 4 bundles in there, it's going to be really full and poofy, and you can rearrange the colors of your curls however you like. If you have, a little too much silver or a little too much white in the area, you can twist that around. This is how full it's looking just with one section done. Now this is how it looks after the second section. So it's going to be a big, beautiful, fluffy wreath. Now that we have all the sections filled in, it is time to add our sign in the center. You will need 4 full-length pipe cleaners. Fold those in half and then kind of create like a seat at the bottom. We're going to add these to the back of our sign using some hot glue. We'll set that pipe cleaner down into the hot glue, and then we're going to reinforce it with some ribbon or a piece of fabric. That's going to hold it in place and hold your stems straight up. Repeat that by adding the other 2 pipe cleaners at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my hairdryer, go over it, make sure I've removed all glue strands. And you also want to make sure that your hot glue has cooled down before you attach your sign to your wreath. So we're just going to take those pipe cleaners and wrap it around the wires, the 2 of the wires that are closest to the inside of the wreath. Once you have those twisted on there, again, you'll want to tuck those in to make sure they do not scratch the surface you're hanging it on. And then if you need to push your sign down a little bit, you can pull some of those curls out and tuck that down nice and pretty inside of your wreath. I love how this one turned out, and I would love to know what you guys think. For this project, I'm using 3 of these metal buckets from Dollar General. They're $1 a piece. They have a beautiful gold rim and a gold snowflake. I think they did have one with a teal snowflake on it. Mark the center on the bottom and carefully drill a hole, and make sure that you wipe away any of that metal debris. You'll do that for all 3 of the buckets. And then we're going to take a wooden bead and some twine, feed your twine through the bead, and then tie as many knots as you need to so that the twine doesn't come back through the bead, just depending on how big of a hole you have in your bead. I had to tie mine about 3 times. And once you have your knot large enough, you'll just want to cut your excess twine off. And I did add some glue just to make sure that the bead stays right there where the knot is. Cut a nice long length off. I cut about maybe 28 inches of the twine. You'll cut 3 of these down. We're going to take the other end and feed it through the inside of our bucket and come out of what's now going to be the top of our bell. You'll want to leave the bead hanging between 3/4 of the way almost to the bottom of the rim. Tie a double or triple knot on the top, add some glue to make sure it doesn't come back through. So you want it to hang just slightly on the inside of the bucket, and do that for all 3 of your buckets. I found this gorgeous large floral pick at Dollar General for $3. Right there at the base where it meets, you'll just bend that over, and then I'm going to use my chalk paint bottle as a guide to wrap around to form a circle. And then once you get that wrapped around, we're going to take that end piece and we're going to twist it around. Now, you do have to have a little bit of hand strength to do this. If you can't get it just by twisting it around, you can take a pair of pliers to help pull that over. You just want to get that piece more towards the back of the greenery piece. Now take your 3 metal buckets and lay them out in the length that you want your bells to hang, and pull all the strings up towards the top. Take your greenery and kind of set that down and decide exactly how long you want each of these buckets to be. You can pull each individual string to kind of get it where you want it to be. Then we're going to take those 3 strands and double knot them on the back of the greenery piece. And then I'll take the extra twine and wrap it around the handle and kind of cover up that piece that we bent over. Then you can glue the strand ends down and tuck those towards the back. To create a bow for this, I'm going to use some 2.5-inch burlap ribbon. It's wired, and I believe this came from Walmart. Then I have this beautiful pine cone ribbon from Dollar General, and it is 1.5 inches. I cut the burlap down to 32 inches. I'm going to fold it in half to find my center, and then I'm going to create a loop on each side, and then we'll have some nice long tails. So we're going to pinch that together in the middle, and using a Dollar Tree zip tie, I'm just going to wrap that around and pull it tightly in the back. Cut off that excess zip tie, and I want to dovetail the ends of this bow, so I'm just going to fold those in half and cut them at an angle and do that for each end. Now for the pine cone ribbon, I want my tails to be shorter than the burlap ribbon, so I'm going to hold that up to see about how much I want to have before I create the loop. So I'm going to create a loop, fold that over, and create another loop on the opposite side, and I'm going to keep doing this until I have 3 loops on each side, and then I'll leave enough of the tail so it'll be the same length as the other side. We're going to pinch that together and take another zip tie and tighten that up in the back, cut the excess off. We're going to attach these two together using another zip tie. And you don't want to put this too tight. You want to have a little bit of space there so we can add another zip tie. I'm going to dovetail the ends of these, and then we can take the zip tie to slide between those two and use that to attach to our greenery piece. I think this would be so beautiful at the end of a mantle or even as a door hanger. I hope you enjoyed today's projects and found tons of inspiration. If you have a favorite, let me know in the comments section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.